Hi there, it's Larold, and today I'm going to talk about leveling in Dragonflight. This video is really going to be about two different things. First, the stuff you want to do before Dragonflight to get ready, so you can make your leveling process really smooth. And once I've gone over that, I'll cover what you're actually going to do once you get to Dragonflight and start leveling, and what your goal should be throughout the whole leveling run. Let's start with preparation. There's a lot of stuff you can do right now to prepare for the Dragonflight release, and I'm just going to run down the main things that I am focusing on. First off, plan for the release date. The expansion is launching on November 28th at 3 p.m. PST, so adjust accordingly for your time zone. If you want to level right as the new expansion goes live, who wouldn't? You want to make sure you're available, so whether that's planning your work schedule, taking time off, finishing homework, fixing your sleep schedule, whatever you got to do to actually be able to have the time to play the night the expansion goes live, probably want to do that. That's step one, kind of the biggest thing here. And while you're at it, prepare your real life. If you're wanting to get off to the best start you can, you kind of want to spend as much time as you can playing. Having some snacks at the ready so you can just grab something quick and get back to leveling and gearing up is really important. I know a lot of people like to give reminders like, don't forget to stop and take a break, stretch your wrists, stretch your legs, and yeah, that's all great advice I should have taken and didn't when I was younger, but I have never once regretted stocking up on snacks before a long gaming session. And caffeine. Healthy stuff doesn't taste as good as candy. You will feel better, so my recommendation is like fruits and nuts and all that healthy stuff, but you know, candy's good too. Whatever it is, it's better than leaving the house to go to the store and buy food when you could be gaming, or even worse, trying to keep leveling while you're really hungry. That's enough RL stuff, let's talk about in-game prep. The most important thing you can do to make leveling smoother is get a decent amount of item level on your character. Doesn't have to be full best in slot, the 252 item level catch-up gear from the Elemental Invasion events is perfect for this. If you want to do the Oldemon dungeon to get some 278 gear, that can be a nice upgrade too. You get a guaranteed 278 weapon as a quest reward for doing the dungeon the first time, so it is worth doing that at least once if that weapon would be an upgrade for you. I've leveled at 180 item level, that was the initial pre-made character item level on the alpha, and it was a little rough, but honestly still pretty easy compared to the last several expansions. I've also leveled at level 305 item level very recently, and that was really helpful for the first few levels, but it tapers off after a while. Even just a baseline of 252 item level will really help you out early on, and as you progress through the expansion, you will gear up. If you're rocking full Shadowlands best in slot, that gear's gonna be replaced by quest rewards in under 10 hours, so there's no need to really break your back trying to gear up now before the expansion release. You just want to get a good foundation. Once you've got yourself some gear, you want to decide what spec you want to level as and whether you want to level in War Mode. I prefer War Mode. I think that extra 10% XP is really good, and the War Mode talents are really amazing for some specs. They help a lot with leveling, adding a bunch of damage or self-healing or defensive value or whatever. Playing with War Mode on is always a gamble though. I think generally at the start of an expansion, players of both factions are more likely to be focused on just questing and leveling as quickly as possible, but there's no guarantee. Someone may want to wear your skull as a trophy, and you need to be prepared to fight them back then. You should probably spend some time practicing playing the spec you're going to level as too, especially if you're going to do it in War Mode. I've been playing a lot of Windwalker, Fury, Havoc, and Feral Druid in the last couple of weeks for this exact reason. I intend to level as a DPS, not a tank, because you kill enemies so much faster, and I think that is worth the sacrifice in tankiness, but I can't just swap specs and be as good at my off spec as I am at my main, so practice is a must. I've mainly been practicing by killing enemies at the Elemental Invasions, and that's probably the best place to get more comfortable with a class right now, other than just hitting a training dummy for a while. Also, you get the dual, twice the value for the same price by also gathering up stuff to get some gear. Next up is preparing your bags. This is really three different things at once. First off, you want to just clean out everything that's not going to be useful to you anymore. You may be holding on to old Shadowlands items like Sereth Mortis quest items, or Venari teleports, or keys for locked boxes in Maldraxxus. You aren't going to need those in a new expansion, a new continent. Throw them out or throw them in the bank. Also, any gear that you're never going to equip again, you can probably just vendor or disenchant. And finally, any items that don't work anymore once you pass level 60, such as Drums of Deathly Ferocity, disposable spectrophasic reanimators, that's the engineering battle res item, or potion of the Psychopomp's speed, the movement speed potion. Those are all examples of items that don't actually work after level 60, so you're better off just vendoring them. You could keep a couple of drums around to use while leveling, I guess, but be prepared to vendor them as soon as you hit level 61. You never want to get halfway through a quest and realize your bags are full and you need to spend 10 more minutes fixing them before you can keep leveling. Definitely make sure you take care of all your bag space issues before you start. And on that note, let's talk about consumables. You want to clear your bags out so that you have space for quest rewards and stuff you loot from mobs, but you also want room for consumables. Making good use of consumables will speed up the leveling process a lot and make it a lot more safe. You want spectral flasks of power and cosmic healing potions at the bare minimum. I would also use potions of phantom fire or potions of spectral agility and electro strength, depending on what spec I'm playing. Pulling big packs of enemies and then popping one of those potions and some offensive cooldowns will help a lot with killing mobs very quickly. You should also prepare with some food, and you have two options for this. You could just eat whatever the best stat food available is. You can use feasts if you want, but versatility food, crit food, whatever it is, depending on your class. Or you can eat fried bonefish. Fried bonefish doesn't give any stats, but it does give you a speed buff after you kill an enemy. It's around 20% move speed at level 60, which is really good. Moving around quickly is one of the most important aspects of leveling as fast as you can. And I think it's worth losing a little bit of secondary stats to get. I also recommend keeping useful enchants in your bags too, unless you're an enchanter. Things like leech to cloak, stats to chest, bracers, gloves, or boots, depending on, again, what primary stat you're using, ring enchants, and weapon enchants. All of these are worth a few bag slots tied up on. Weapon enchants are definitely the most important. You don't want to get a weapon upgrade while you're leveling, put it on, and then realize it's not actually an upgrade because you've just given away your weapon enchant. Celestial Guidance is good for everyone. It's super cheap. It's just a simple primary stat proc. You can throw it on any weapon, no matter what spec you are, and it'll be great. I would also recommend carrying Shadow Core oils just for a bit of free extra damage while you're leveling, heavy Desolate Armor kits just for a little more stamina, and I always keep at least one stack of Goblin Gliders and Avalanche Elixirs in my bags, just in case I fall off of any cliffs or whatever. It's a great way to prevent myself from falling to my death. If dying and having to run back to your corpse is a waste of time. Much better to just hit a glider or an Avalanche Elixir and land and then move on from there. Having a stack of gun shoes is also an okay idea. Usually they're super important for getting around while leveling. They're okay for getting around whenever you feel like using them now. You won't get much value out of them once you unlock Dragonriding, but for the first 30 minutes or so of leveling, they can be pretty useful. Now let's cover the last bit of stuff you want to have in your bags: teleports and utility. First off, let's talk about teleport cloaks. For Horde players, these take you to Orgrimmar. For Alliance, they take you to Stormwind. You can buy 3 of them, and the way they work is pretty simple. You equip the cloak, then you use it, and it has a cast time just like a Hearthstone, and a cooldown based on whether it's green, blue, or purple. 8 hours, 4 hours, or 2. You buy these from the guild vendor in a capital city. You can just talk to a guard to find that vendor if you need. The Horde one is right in the front of Orgrimmar. Unlocking these cloaks is reliant on guild achievements, which is an extremely old system, like 12 or 14 years old. So if your guild hasn't completed the achievements to unlock these, you won't be able to buy them. But don't worry, there's another way. Instead of using any of these cloaks, or in addition to them, you can use Potion of Deepholm. Unlike the cloaks with their 2 to 8 hour cooldowns, Potions of Deepholm have a 5-minute cooldown, and they are instant. No cast time. I think I recorded myself using one while I was dismounted and falling out of the sky. Potion of Deepholm doesn't drop you in Orgrimmar or Stormwind, it takes you to Deepholm. But if you fly literally 10 yards straight ahead into the Temple of Earth, there is an Orgrimmar portal to your right and a Stormwind portal to your left. Take the portal and you're back in your capital city in under 30 seconds. These might cost 100, maybe 200 gold apiece on the auction house, but considering how convenient they are, I think it's worth the price to have at least a couple of these on hand on any character you plan on leveling. Being able to get back to the capital city really quickly is just super important. Any other teleport items you can get your hands on are good too. Dalaran Hearthstone, Garrison Hearthstone, Jaina's Locket, Empowered Ring of the Kirin Tor, Brawlgar Arena Ring, any of those are all great to have and worth a bag slot. There's one other main item that's really good to have on hand while leveling, and that's banners. Banners also come from the guild vendor, and they are based on a really old guild achievement as well. Banners come in 3 tiers. They're very basic. They're a reusable item. You toss one down, it goes on cooldown for 15 minutes, stays up for 2 minutes, and gives you and your party members more XP and honor from kills on enemies within a 100-yard radius. It's 5% more XP for the green one, 10% for the blue, and 15% for the purple banner. A good rule of thumb with these is just basically to drop them down anytime you remember. That's probably the hardest thing for me in all of leveling, is remembering to use banners. Whenever you enter a bonus objective zone, throw down a banner into a big AoE pull. If you're doing a quest that says kill 10 guys, toss down a banner before you kill the guys, that sort of thing. They're very simple. It's not really a huge deal if you don't have them. It doesn't make up a massive amount of XP, but it's free real estate. Alright, that's enough about prep. Now let's switch over to leveling. First off, here's my overall review of leveling in Dragonflight. It's great. It's way faster than any expansion since WoD, it's a lot more fun than the last couple of expansions have been, and Dragonriding is awesome. There are 2 main approaches to leveling. If you just want to hit max level as fast as you possibly can, you want to do most of the side quests in each zone. They give a lot of XP. Unfortunately, hitting level 70 isn't really the end goal of leveling your first character, it's completing the campaign. Completing the campaign is what unlocks adventure mode, which opens up world quests and allows you to grind reputation with the various reps around the islands and level other characters without playing through the campaign again, which is a lot faster for leveling alts. So the other approach to leveling is just to focus on campaign quests. Do them all, you have no choice. But don't take too much time to stop and smell the roses along the way. Now, if you just do the campaign, you might only be level 69 once you finish. Nice, but also not nice. To this end, you can stop and do some side quests along the way, or you can go with the approach I'm using, which is to kill every rare and do every bonus objective that I see as I'm proceeding through all of the campaign quests. Rare mobs are back to giving a ton of XP in Dragonflight. Technically, the mobs themselves don't, so there's no reason to sit there and camp them, but they give you a bonus objective, so the first kill that you score on each rare is worth a full quest's XP reward, which is just great. Bonus objectives that you run across out in the world also give really big XP rewards. They're a lot more involved, usually they just boil down to kill 25 mobs rather than 1, but the XP rewards are big and you can often find rare mobs in those bonus objectives for a little 2 birds with 1 stone action. So stop and smell the rare mobs, kill them, take their XP, but mostly focus on the campaign quests. So that's the general philosophy. Now I just want to finish with one final thing here. It's the reason I think leveling is so good in Dragonflight. Dragonriding. Dragonriding rules. First things first, you unlock Dragonriding within the first 30 minutes to an hour of entering the Dragon Isles, which is exactly how it needs to be. It's not a max level thing, it's not something you have to grind rep for days or weeks to unlock, not hidden behind an achievement or a patch that won't come out until a year after the expansion releases. It's just day 1, first hour. Here's your dragon, have fun flying. Flying is good for World of Warcraft. First of all, it's fun, it's fast, it makes players feel like their time isn't being intentionally wasted. World PvP enthusiasts complained in the past about not being able to gank lobies and camp their corpses for hours at a time because of flying, and Blizzard used that as a partial justification for removing flying from the game for the first year of each new expansion. It made leveling slower, it made navigating around excellent looking zones like Revendreth, Drustvar, and High Mountain super tedious. Being able to fly is good for the game. Not being able to fly is not good for the game. It's annoying. Imagine having to get up and walk across the room to turn off an alarm clock every 4 minutes while playing. This is how my brain feels when I'm not able to fly. Flying wasn't some degenerate new system that took convenience too far in the last couple of expansions. They added it into the Burning Crusade. Anyways, it's now a bona fide modern gameplay loop. Dragons have physics, they have momentum, they have weight. You have to plan out your flying route, but the reward is they fly insanely fast, way more than twice as fast as old school flying. Burning Crusade style flying sucks by comparison. Just to compare, I did some tests of flying back and forth between a couple of flight points, and then I did dragon riding in between them, and I timed it all. Dragon riding smokes flight points. Blizzard was super adamant over the last several expansions about flight paths being a good alternative to regular flying early in expansions when they were forcing you to be on ground mounts, and they even made flight paths faster just to please the very angry boys like me. Completely unsuccessful, by the way. But it does mean that flight paths are some of the fastest conventional methods of travel. There are some ancient flight paths that still have weird pathing, but for the most part, they're way faster for traveling between point A and point B than a regular flying mount. But in testing it, dragon riding absolutely blows flight paths away. Flight paths are still good for if you want to fly all the way across the continent, or you want to go AFK and grab a drink while you head from point A to point B, but I can absolutely beat a flight path across a zone just by zooming on the back of a dragon, and that rules. Dragon riding also makes leveling way faster and more fun than ever before, because one of the biggest pain points of leveling has always been traveling back and forth across zones. Being able to fly is good, but being able to fly at super speed is amazing. In previous expansions, you would spend a lot of your leveling time basically doing errands, riding back and forth and talking to NPCs. You still talk to a lot of people while leveling, but the time you would have spent slowly riding back and forth is cut way shorter thanks to dragon riding. This lets you spend less of your time running back and forth being an NPC's messenger and more time killing bad guys, and then, well, you are still doing that for NPCs, so either way you're doing quests, but the fun part is a much bigger part of what you're doing, and the boring part is a lot smaller now, and that's what matters. I am so excited for Dragonflight. You can tell. I really, really love dragon riding. I think it's one of the best things Blizzard has ever made. Well, I hope this helps you have a great leveling experience. Alright, that's it. Thanks for watching. Bye.